Soundstripe.
Oh, but yes, they are. And yes, it does. Hey, y'all. Auntie Ashley, the Clinical Cookout here. And so I decided to, of course, talk about a taboo subject that a lot of people will feel like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with mental health, but it absolutely does. And just note that no matter what you might think, children are thinking about sex or trying to understand certain things in that realm. And sexual development and sexual behaviors begins in infancy. So there is no, my kid is too young to learn about this. There is an age appropriate way to teach any and everything. So with that being said, just note that all of the information that I will be giving you today is either coming from the National Institute of Health, the CDC, or the National Center on the Sexual Behavior of Youth. So I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. This is researched, factual information. And yes, sex and sexuality does have an impact on your child's mental health, especially dependent upon how you, as the adult, approach it. So let's get into it. Okay, so right off the bat, children's sexual awareness starts in infancy and continues to strengthen throughout preschool and school age years. All aspects of a child's development, including cognitive, language, motor, social, emotional, and sexual development, are linked to each other. Knowing about this development for children and how it changes as they grow and what is common and uncommon can help caregivers and parents determine if a child's sexual behavior is typical or something to be concerned about, because there are common behaviors, but a lot of times the things that are common are viewed negatively, which impact how that child then internalizes their sexual development and their curiosity and awareness, and then impacts their mental health as they age. So from infancy to about age 5, children are curious about bodies and bodily functions and may want to touch or see other people's bodies. They may ask a lot of questions about body parts and pregnancy and birth. They show their genitals to others with no problem. Children that young literally do not have a sense of modesty because they are not viewing things from a sexualized nature. However, this is an important stage because this is where shame often gets implemented. And once the seed of shame is planted, it is hard to uproot. It grows with children. So if you have a young child between the ages of about 0 to 5, maybe 6, 7, there is a way to tell them about appropriateness and time and place without shaming them or making them think there is something wrong with my body. Because at that young age, children do learn and begin to internalize what you say. That's where mental health kicks in that aspect. At this stage, whether or how often a child repeats sexual behavior is often related to how caregivers respond to the child's initial sexual behavior. Children's typical sexual behavior, such as curiously looking at another child, is unplanned. The behavior is impulsive without much thought. Remember, they are not sexualizing this. We are. So they may play dress up, they may play house, they may play doctor. These things are actually all very much normal. Children as young as 7 months old may touch and play with their own private parts. Infants and young children's self-touch behavior appears largely related to curiosity and the soothing feeling. Children are literally wired to seek out something that soothes them or feels good and to move away from discomfort and pain. And another tidbit about children in this age group, their vocabulary is ever expanding, and this is when they are soaking up things very quickly. So they need to know proper terms, and it is okay to teach them proper terms. All right, so between ages 7 and 12 is when puberty will hit. It usually happens around age 10, but some girls actually experience changes in their body as early as age 7 or 8. By age 10, most children can have a basic and fairly realistic understanding of puberty, how babies are made, pregnancy, and childbirth. The accuracy of their sexual knowledge, however, depends in large part on the children's exposure to correct information and educational material. However, since parents and other adults often find communicating with their children about bodily changes and sexual matters uncomfortable, they frequently turn to other sources of information like peers, media, social media. Understand something. Unless you are raising your child in a bubble, you are homeschooling. They have zero access to any outside influence. Trust me, they are being influenced by something outside of you. And therefore, they are learning and hearing things outside of you. And according to the National Institute of Health, the widespread access to continuous, multiple, and often unhealthy sexual content without any ethical filter or prior preparation in our young people has been a challenge in addressing their understanding. So, it's common in the pre-adolescent stage between ages 9 and 12 for children to want knowledge on sexual materials, relationships, and behaviors. They have increased interest in sex and begin to experiment with other children their same age. Puberty can begin, like I said, as early as age 7, 8, or 9. Comparing genital size and function, locker room behavior. Older children may engage in petting, French kissing, touching, or rubbing each other's body. And they continue to touch themselves, though at this point, if shame has been planted, they often feel embarrassed and deny that they are doing it. Next up, adolescence between ages 13 to 16. Common behaviors, asking questions and needing information on decision-making, social relationships, and sexual customs. They continue to touch themselves in private. Girls begin menstruation. Some girls begin earlier than that, like 8 or 9. And boys will begin to produce sperm. Sexual experimentation between children of the same age and gender. And usually at this point, most teenagers are having their first sexual intercourse experience. And that will occur for approximately 1/3 of teens. And just a quick side note, since we're on teens now, according to the CDC's teen birth rate statistics by state, between 2017 and 2021, the states with the highest rates of teen birth were your states in which abstinence-only sex education courses are taught. These are also your states that are below or in the Bible Belt, so your southern states. The fact of the matter is, teenagers are going to explore. They are going to have questions. The more taboo you make something, the more likely a teen is likely to be interested in it. So if we can have these sex positive conversations and just talk about it, we might see some better rates in those particular states. Now, lastly, how does this affect mental health? How does it actually affect our kids and teenagers' mental health? Well, although there is still a need for mutual development and research in the area of sexuality and mental health, from the research that has been and is currently being done, we have found a lot of useful information. Researchers believe that the origin of a great number of mental health issues stem from sexual repression or sexual shame in those early years. For example, there has been more incidents of anxiety and depression among children and adolescents who have been shamed in the area of sex and sexuality or feel shame. Research also found that adolescents who have engaged in sexual intercourse are more likely than adolescents who have not to be depressed and to have attempted suicide. Female adolescents are more at risk, however, due to socialization, gender norms, and how society views boys' initiation to sex versus girls' initiation to sex. Interpersonal factors such as stigmatization by peers and the sexual double standard may also influence reaction to early sexual initiation. So more cultural and social sanctions exist for girls who are engaging in or thinking about engaging in sex than their male peers due to cultural beliefs about girls' virginity, which may make it more likely that girls view early sexual initiation as a negative life event and thus react negatively to it. Meaning girls are more likely to be depressed, anxious, or have suicidal ideation. So at the end of the day, we need to talk to our children about sex and sexuality and what is going on with their bodies and their thoughts in that area. There is no, they're too young. There's an age-appropriate way to talk about this with any child, no matter if they are male, female, no matter if they identify as a girl or a boy or how they identify. All I'm saying is have the conversations. Your children are not too young. They are absolutely thinking things. They are absolutely getting incorrect information if it is not coming from you, a parent, or a teacher. If you want your children to not be ignorant to what they are seeing and what they are going to eventually experience, it's best that you have the talk with them now. If you want them to have a positive experience and for their mental health to be affected positively, it is best to talk to them now. Lastly, 2 resources that you can definitely use if you want to start having these conversations or you don't know how to start having these conversations with your children and teens age appropriately, you can check out sexpositivefamilies.com or ncsby.org. Our children need to know, they need to be aware, and they need accurate knowledge and education. All right, y'all, that's it for me. Have a beautiful, wonderful rest of the day.